So I'm on basically another consultation. It's a consultation because this homeowner had contacted me some weeks ago with a picture of her curb specifically. So, you know, when I looked at the picture of the shower, I'm like, oh, it's not too bad. But when I saw the picture of the curb, you know, I was really kind of confused because it was a close-up, and as I go close up, you're going to see what's going on here. All this green tint going on. My first inclination, why it was, I don't know. My first inclination, had I not known anything else, was, wow, they used like a copper shower pan. Because back in the day, they had lead, they had copper, they had different material that would make a shower pan out of. And I've taken out those material, you know, on older houses, but it's not an old house. So then my second idea was, well, it must be pressure treated wood, but I've never seen pressure treated wood bleed this profusely. Like, it's just crazy how all of this staining has just happened and just kind of made its way up and around and even into the grout line. I believe the homeowner said that it had already come out to like here, she had bleached out a bunch of it. So I've never seen that before. I don't use pressure treated wood on my curbs, but I don't use it on my curbs because I don't want the warping and bending and all that stuff happening and pushing up against, you know, the tile itself and or the glass. So having said that, I don't have an easy fix. There's no easy way to remedy something like this, and this is an anomaly because I've never ever seen this. Yes, I've seen pressure treated wood used on curbs before, but not to the point they're bleeding. So it's a little strange. When I first come into a shower, and as I did with the homeowner, because now I'm boots on the ground as opposed to just the pictures. When I first come on a shower, I kind of decipher, you know, could this guy build a shower? This being not a functional issue, more aesthetic, you know, it's not leaking, the shower isn't leaking. There's some other issues I'll get into, but the shower's not leaking, it's just aesthetic. Having said that, I still get into, does he know how to build a shower? Standing back where I was and having the door open the way it was, her and I were discussing how this came about, you know, the history of it. This is about a year, a little bit over a year, which is a frustration that she's having because now the contractor is refusing responsibility because it's out of warranty. And he's a rather large contractor, so it's a little odd that he's kind of, you know, blowing her off. This was actually a sub that worked under the contractor, that got paid through the contractor. So ultimately, subs are responsible, same as children with their parents. A sub is responsible to the contractor, and the contractor is ultimately responsible to the homeowner, and that's what I tried to explain. For a sub to come in with a subpar shower build, really kind of aggravates me. And so as I'm standing here with the homeowner, I'm noticing things right off the bat. The lighting was a little lower and I could see the shadows that were being thrown, especially over there. There were shadows being thrown, so already I knew there were lippage going on. This is a much larger format tile. I believe this is a 36 by, I'm guessing about 20. So it's a larger format tile than normal, but still with leveling clips, none of that lippage should be going on. A couple other things I noticed standing with her before I even got into it. There's also lippage on the curb area, which you may have noticed already when I did a close-up. I don't like the fact that they used a bunch of these tile when they obviously had a quartz top. The quartz top would be appropriate application for the curb. One solid piece of quartz on the curb. I also noticed that the curb, just standing here without even, you know, getting down further, I can notice that water was standing there, that there was no slope going in with these cut up pieces of bullnose. So it's just really, really substandard in my opinion on the build process. There's even lippage up here, which is totally unnecessary, especially since, well, I'm not going to get into all the details. My videos seem to run a long time as it is. The dissection of what he knew and what he didn't know has a lot to do with, you know, when you build showers yourself, you know that there's a way to get this tile closer to that tile, right? And it wasn't done. So rather than doing a closer tile with a little, you know, you could do an edge cut here, a little 45 cut, and have the grout line a little closer. So there's this huge 3/4, maybe 5/8 it goes up to. It's larger as it goes up. So I don't like that. It's small potatoes, but it really does throw you off and let you know what somebody knows or what they don't know. A year and a half later, still, is this sanded? I think this is sanded grout. Year and a half later, there's still some grout haze going on and stuff like that. There's grout that has already popped out. I think I saw some over here. Yeah, some grout areas that had already popped out. I think, is this sanded? Why would they use sanded on here? Anyway, grout's popped out here. Grout's popped out over there. I think some has popped out over there along the line here. People get on to me on my videos because I don't do caulking where the plane changes are. Because I don't think, a couple of reasons. I don't think it's necessary to do caulking because this grout line is no different from that grout line. The movement or lack thereof is the reason you would do caulking on change of planes, especially in a corner like this. You know, when I built my shower 7, 8 years ago, there's no caulking anywhere, change of planes, and there's no cracking. But I do agree that caulking has a purpose. When there is cracking, as there is currently almost all the way down, there's some cracking going on that's pretty obvious. Yeah, run a bead of caulking up there and then it's appropriate. But the other reason that I don't advocate for caulking, especially silicone, it's very difficult to get out. You will spend most of your afternoon trying to scrape out silicone caulking, which is why I prefer latex. But you know, it is what it is. Another thing I don't like is that the lines don't match up, you know, like perfectly. I know it's only an 1/8 of an inch, you know, discrepancy, 1/8 of an inch all the way up. But I noticed that as I was talking to the homeowner, I'm like, how come they couldn't get those lines matching up to those lines? You know, as small as that is, it's not functional. Again, it's all aesthetic. All this lippage that's going on is aesthetic. But there's no reason for it with leveling clips. Large format tile like this, you definitely want leveling clips. That's the only way you're gonna get it as flush as possible. This is really bad. You're not gonna get, you know, you're not gonna get perfect, but you're gonna get pretty near perfect. And some of these are, but most of them aren't. But that's what I look at. I look at all of these little tiny things when I try and figure out if this is a good tile guy. You know, somehow I managed to get almost in the center of this tile a cut. I'm thinking if I took off this escutcheon plate, I'm thinking that's probably a square, that it's not circular. Doesn't matter, but it's just one of those things that I look for. It has a big hole down there too. Is that a hole? I don't know. I don't like that there's a little 1.5 inch cut over there and there's not an 1.5 inch cut over there. It's just kind of a planning thing. So the cuts around the drain, the cuts themselves are not bad, but I can feel that the drain edge, I can literally feel the drain edge from this point. It's only smooth here. And then from there on up to around to here, the drain is cockeyed up. So I know for a fact there's water pooling. There's water pooling. I think the shower was used recently. I didn't put a level on it, but it just seems to my eye that this is a little bit flat over here. So if he has built a shower before, he hasn't built too many. You know, somewhat of a decent tile guy, but not decent enough for my standard. Like I wouldn't leave him alone and let him build a shower if he worked for me. There's lippage on the underside of this piece here, but then there's not over here. This orange stuff that you see, the staining, this orange, is directly related to standing water. So if you ever get this in your shower, this orange stuff, you'll know that's the reason. And I've showed that on other videos where they're standing water. So they're gonna continue to have that orange stuff. And I'm surprised they don't have any up here. Because that has a slope on it, barely. But I also, it looks like it's up over here. It's kind of cockeyed. So the slope goes this way and slightly outward. Kind of, no, not kind of a sloppy grout job going up there. I don't like these cuts. Looks like they overcut a couple places. I don't know, it's okay. It's a standard type of build that somebody is that a pencil mark? It's a standard type of bill that somebody that has done tile for a minute would probably do, but not somebody that should be subbing for a contractor. This quartz, by the way, isn't sloped, so that bothers me only slightly. I don't see any orange staining going on, but yeah, that should have been sloped. Curb should have been sloped. There should have been a bit more slope on here. I don't know why it's so shallow, given the size of the wall. Yeah, so there you go. Look at this, I'm mucking up. I need a towel or something. So the issue becomes, and I'm not just complaining about the job just for complaint's sake, the issue becomes how do we get rid of the green? How do we get rid of the pressure treated 2x4s and get her an appropriate slope going in, because there is none. So water is actually getting outside of the shower in addition to this green. So, you know, the ideal situation would be you cut out one tile all the way around, get down to, you know, like just bare material, and then do the whole pan over again, and including the curb, and then you got to put some, you know, tile back up. This process would take me about 6 to 7 days. And for that reason alone, I don't like doing it, because at 6 to 7 days, a lot of it's dry time. And so doing a shower pan redo is not optimal. I would like to take care of just the curb, since all the other issues that I enumerated, she can kind of live with. But taking care of the curb is difficult because I don't know how it was built. She didn't take pictures. So, and I emphasize, if you're having a shower built, you know, no matter who the contractor is, if you trust them or not, have pictures. Like every day that they leave, come down and take pictures, so that you have a process that now I can look on your phone and go, okay, well, I know what the problem most likely is, or I can rectify the problem, right? If I just take out the curb material. But in that case, if I take out the curb material, which would include the pressure treated wood, I might compromise the pan material. You see, once I push that material, it gets complicated. It gets really complicated. So I would like to see like x-ray and know how they built it, so I know how to rectify it. Because if I can't just do the curb, her complaint is the green and the leaking coming out of the shower. And so taking care of the curb, yes, but I don't know if I can do that. I don't know what they waterproofed and what they didn't, or how it was wrapped. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. So I can't come in and say, yes, definitively I can fix this. I might have to, in fact, take out all of that, and that's a much more expensive and time-consuming endeavor than just doing that alone. But she paid good money for this. You know, the homeowners paid, I think it's a 3,000, she told me about 3,000 square foot basement. And so like, you know, I like the high baseboard, I like the crown molding, this was completely unfinished basement. You know, the cabinetry, you know, the quartz top, you know, the mirrors, all of this stuff was inclusive. But she paid about $300K to have all this stuff done. And for the most part, I don't have a problem with all the bill. They had to pay a lot. They had to pay out carpenters to do all this, you know, the doors and all the hardware. So when I say inclusive, yes, all the hardware, all the building materials. I'm not going to go and show the whole basement because it's quite large. But because, and they've got a bar back there with, you know, like dishwasher and all this stuff. But because, you know, they paid basically $100 a square foot, which is marginally higher than you would normally pay. Normally a basement redo is about $35 to $45, $50 a square foot. But because it was all inclusive of material, then the shower should not have these issues. You know, like I've seen the rest of the basement and I have no issues with any of the stuff that I've seen so far. But this shower sucks. And the problem is with the sub, him saying, hey, I'm not coming back to fix this. And then the contractor basically said, which is the parent of this child, and I don't mean that derogatory, you know, parents responsible for their kids. So all the subs that the contractor hired, including the guy that built his shower, the parent's responsible for. So even if the sub says, I'm not coming back to fix this, the contractor should. Or he should at least reimburse the homeowner for the cost of this getting fixed, because that's unacceptable. A lot of this is unacceptable insofar as showers that I would build, I wouldn't have that kind of lippage, I wouldn't have those type of cuts going on, you know, or the unevenness. There's some of these are still minor, but the preponderance of all this stuff tells me that he's not really learned. He's not a person that should be subbing to a contractor that's making $300K, regardless and despite how much he got paid for this, you know, because the contractor is responsible. The contractor should have signed off on this at the end of the day before the last check was written. You know, some of these issues, of course, you wouldn't have known about the green, but a lot of these issues, had the homeowner known about these issues, other issues, then maybe that could have been sidelined, because the rest of it's kind of, I'm not gonna say it's garbage, I've seen worse. So it's not total garbage, it's just not, I don't know, like I said, it's not up to par with what I would do, you know, subbing or not. Of course, I don't sub myself, but yeah. Long-winded diatribe about hiring the right contractor, making sure you kind of see why cover your ass on things, because, you know, there's a lot of money that got spent. And I feel bad for the homeowner, but you know, there's always the court option too, taking them to court. Basically, you have to have some type of evidence that the job is done wrong. Right? You just can't go to court on your own and say, you know, it's a garbage job. You have to have somebody, and I think that's why I'm here, is to kind of like reiterate that fact. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.